Hello, Shauna. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you again. I'm
Me
gonna
too.
ask about your experience for the past week, but before that, I'm gonna jump right in. I'm gonna show you something. So, look, these are some of the notebooks. These are my journals. Some of it I have. This is half of what I have,
Yeah.
and I write things down because this is the best way to manipulate your subconscious mind. And first off, for the record, nothing that I'm about to say is about me personally, or the amounts that I'm going to show might be irrelevant. I'm just trying to make a point as to the method works. So this is not bragging, anything like that. Again, not personal for sure, but I went bankrupt last year. Okay. Jamie mentioned me being a millionaire. I lost it all just, let's say, maybe 10 months ago, not so far. I always put the dates when I journal. I don't know if you can read it. It says October 4th here, 3:04
Yeah.
p.m. Okay. I'm not gonna go into details as to what I wrote here, but just to show you when I did this, October 4th. Okay. What I wrote here is I'm gonna make a minimum of $30,000 per month. Okay. This is the important point. So the same month starts with 1400, then moving on to 29,800. Only $200 missing from my initial goal, and only 2 months later, from October to December, it almost materialized. Okay, then January, 60,000 something. If you guys are listening to us on our podcast, please also visit the YouTube channel so you can see this. February, 63,000. March, 88,800. Then I got lazy. It went down to 56, 35, 31. The point is, it never went below 30,000 ever since. I never made less than 30,000. And last month is July. I closed July with 50,400. So this may sound like a miracle. I write down that I'm going to make at least $30,000 per month in October 4th and get there in 2 months. And I didn't make less than 30K ever since, even though I was lazy. This is a subscription business. I'm selling subscriptions. So that's why even if I stop working, I already have a customer base who are paying on a month basis, $30, $40, whatever. And it keeps me above $30,000. So how does it work? I don't know what is your perception when I mention this like a story, how it sounds to you. But basically what I did here was, now getting into the details of the method, there is a lot to this. I can't cover everything right now, but just as a basic principle, what you need to know is that here I was imagining, visualizing that there is only 30 days left. My life will be over in 30 days. Okay. And my goal is to make at least $30,000. And if I don't, then I'm associating the risk, the possibility of me not making $30,000 per month, not meeting my goal with my death. Okay, this is where things get interesting. So survival is the most powerful instinct, right? Every behavior is underlined by a really powerful instinct of survival. This is what the subconscious mind is wired to do. We covered this last week. Our brain, the main function of our brain is not to make us happy or healthy, maybe healthy, not rich, not popular, whatever, just to keep us alive. So this being the most powerful force, the drive behind our behavior, if you somehow instill the idea of dying with not being able to meet your goals, then what our conscious mind does is that it saves you from death, right? It saves you, in this case, when you associate these two things, it saves you from not being able to meet your goal. So I started with 30 days left to live, and I want to make 30K. Then I move on down to 7 days. I visualize this. I'm going to die in 30 days and I didn't make 30K. I'm going to die in 7 days and I didn't make 30. The next step is to do the same thing, but imagining, visualizing that I have only 1 day left, then only 1 hour left. You can, I don't know, my handwriting is pretty bad, but I say here 1 hour left to live. Here, there's an arrow. Do you see 1 hour left to live? This is serious. And you might feel a little depressed. We need to be careful about this. This is serious stuff. It might trigger some traumas or something like that. So I'm not suggesting you to do that yet. I'm just showing you because I did that before. It helped me move to the US from Russia. And I'm sad. I'm gone. I disappear. because the method, the teaching tells me to write down all the feelings as I close my eyes and visualize that I wasn't able to meet my goals and I'm gone. Okay, this is it. It took me like 30 minutes to study this. And then within 1 month, I started making this amount and I never went back to what I was before. So this works. And again, just one last part of this story. My next goal is to make $1 million in the next 120 days. You have to be pretty specific with your goals. So nothing arbitrary, pretty specific in terms of the date, the deadline. And if it's an amount, you have to name an amount. If it's something else, you have to explain everything in vivid details because you're going to visualize it. Then just leave it, let it go. Because once you do that, once your subconscious mind picks up the goal and starts seeing that like death, almost like death, it's now his or her job to take over and get you there. This sounds incredible, I know, but it worked for me at least in 2 occasions, twice, and I'm gonna do it again starting tomorrow. I gave myself 2 days. We like rented an Airbnb, a really fancy place in LA, staycation, and I'm gonna focus on doing this again. Then I'm gonna document the whole process, like counting down to 120 days. Why 120 days? Because I need to set a deadline which feels realistic. And so we have a newborn son. He's 5 months old now, and we applied to get his passport. We're gonna receive his passport in 120 days, so we will be able to travel. And when I make $1 million in 120 days, I'll be able to fly my family privately with a private jet to Europe, to Italy and France. That's the goal. And you're gonna see if we do this again in 120 days from today is August 1st, so it's like an even number. Looking back, this video will be incredible because in this case, it's just me, right? I wrote it down, no one knew it. But now I'm publicly disclosing my goal and I'm gonna publish this. Obviously, many people will see, and hopefully people will be curious enough to follow my progress and interested enough to try it for themselves because it works. This is the intro. I know it sounded pretty personal. Sorry for that, but I needed to like somehow explain the next steps in my journey, and I want to inspire people. I know this might not mean a lot, even though I'm showing like screenshots from my app, real-time data and this, but this can be still fake, right? Maybe I wrote this a month ago, but I can assure you I don't have $1 million in my bank account right now. And I'm going to be documenting like with maybe daily, maybe weekly income disclosures. I'm going to share the whole process. What do you think? What do you feel when you hear about the whole story here?
Yeah, it's impressive, and I think I'm still just really impressed. And I actually listened to your interview with Jamie as well, and I'm very curious because before you were in Russia at the time, right? You're already starting to manifest. You were imagining that you were in LA, that you were being LA and driving a bikini, I remember. And that's before you moved to the US, right? And then you bankrupt. That's happened here. So I'm just wondering, because it seems like you have manifested all these things happening, and then you went bankrupt.
The bankruptcy it didn't happen right away. After moving to the US, we're talking about 2017. So for 6 years, I had a multi-million-dollar, pretty successful business, and I had 40 people working for me. So I know you didn't ask a question yet, but for me, looking backward, the bankruptcy even worked for me because I got rid of all this overhead. Now it's like a one-man show, doing something similar, still teaching people how to make money online with the subscription business model, which is much more robust in terms of not having to sell something every day over and over to different people, because it's a small amount and you can sell it to hundreds of people and they will be happily paying you, even though some of them, of course, cancel their subscription at some point. I have a base income, so everything comes on top of it, which is much easier both for my students in terms of being able to afford it and for me not having the pressure, the stress of selling. And I don't have a huge team. I have just one assistant, so it's pretty cost efficient, pretty profitable. So I'm glad that I went bankrupt, and now it's going to be much easier in terms of managing the whole business. I don't know. By the way, I took over the conversation again. Sorry.
Okay.
I have no idea as to where that $1 million will come from. It definitely won't come from my existing business because you can't scale it that much to like tens of thousands of people. It will be probably something international. Maybe from this program that we just started with a podcast, maybe it will become an international program where I help people like I'm trying to help you right now. And another important point, it's not up to me to come up with the method or the income source. That's the most amazing thing about the subconscious mind. It's his job to figure out how to get me there. This is amazing. I'm so comfortable. We talked about the analogy of swimming, right? Floating on top of water. It's the job of water to keep you afloat. I just want to stay on to either swim or lay backwards and enjoy my time in the sea. It's not up to me because I couldn't anyway. I'm not running the physics. The show is not run by me. The physics, the nature, the powers are there. The laws of physics are there and they're serving me. The same way I believe 100% because I did it before and it worked for me. I understand if you're suspicious, if you have doubts because you've never done it before. Because what happens is that you, based on fear, we all try to come up with something, with the answers, with our conscious mind, which is impossible. If it worked, we wouldn't need to get help from our subconscious anyway. But right now, we're driven by it and its function is to instill fear, to keep us on alert at all times because it's mostly about running away from pain. This is what it does. This is what the system is based on. And it worked in terms of evolution for millions of years. We are alive thanks to this system. So we're thankful that it helped us get there, but it's not helping us get to the next point, whether it's wealth or have the right relationship or whatever. So the second important part of this call today is that I have no idea where the money will come from. It applies to you as well, right? You're still struggling financially, and let's say we made you believe that you're going to come out of this. Hopefully we will as we keep doing this. You don't have to think about where the money will come from because when it becomes your subconscious mind's job to save you, not saving is not the right word, to get you to the next level, then you don't have to think about that. It's much more powerful than you and it has this direct connection to the universal mind. It will come up with ideas. It will help you meet with people. When you do your job about manipulating your subconscious mind in a positive way, you don't need to worry about any of these. Sorry for the interruption. Keep going, please.
Yeah. I guess I was thinking, and I'm very curious to know that because you've been manifesting all these years, right? And you went bankrupt. Is that so? From your point of view, I was wondering how were you feeling at the time? Because money. So from my point of view, it feels as if you keep manifesting, but fate. You have your fate, and it doesn't mean that if you keep manifesting, then you'll just be lucky. I don't want to say the word like you're just being luck all the time, but I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes you get lucky. It's the right word. You just need to do your part. Then, because we don't understand, we can't reason enough, we call it luck. Actually, it's not luck. It is what subconscious mind is capable of, which is too much for us to understand. That's why you can ignore that part. You can call it a miracle because miracles happen every day, okay? Regarding the bankruptcy, the way I see it, so I still have goals, right? And I wanted to go international. I don't want to be stuck in my own culture, my own language. So the subconscious mind says, okay, I accept. Then we have to shut down this business first. You have to go, if you want to go international, if you want to grow, you're talking about making billions of dollars, $1 million in the next 120 days. I wasn't talking about $120 back then before I went bankrupt, of course, but think about the subconscious mind as being aware of everything, seeing the whole picture, which we will never see. You have to let go. You have to go with the flow and trust the flow and then surrender for it to take over and take you. Like, so you're this small person and there's a huge power, okay? Some people call it God, some people call it just whatever, universal minds, subconscious minds. Depends on how scientific you want to see things or how religious you are. So this small person and you want to go up here, okay? Something picks you up and puts you there. In the meantime, for you to be picked up and put there, some things need to be altered. Some things need to be like reimagined, re-engineered, okay? You don't understand that part and you don't have to. That's why I'm talking about surrendering to that force. We name things good or bad without seeing the whole picture. It doesn't make sense. Yes, bankruptcy sounds bad to most people. If you assume you're gonna go homeless, which you won't, right? I went bankrupt, and in 3 months, I went back up again because I believe in the whole picture, and just being a part of it, surrendering to this bigger force and trusting the process. So who can say the bankruptcy was bad? If in the next 120 days I'm going to make $1 million and I'm going to go international, it sounds pretty stupid to call that bankruptcy a bad experience, because it took me from a small version of myself and put me up there where there are billions of English speaking people, and I'll be able to change like lives in a much bigger scale. That's it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's serving what happened, it's serving your future plans. That makes sense. Yeah.
I suggest everyone to watch Steve Jobs' Harvard commencement speech, because he says you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can't connect them looking forwards. Have you seen it?
No.
I'm going to send you the link. It's amazing because he's a pretty wise person. He was, right? And he spent a lot of time in India being part of the spiritual journey as well, not just like a pretty strict capitalistic person, but he had this intuition. Why he was able to touch so many people's lives. That's why he was wanted even when people didn't know what they wanted. He gave it to them. So there's definitely intuition involved. This is how I see it. If you just consider small timelines, some things are good, some things are bad. But if you look at the bigger scale, they might switch, right? Things that you consider good might end up being bad for you as well. So what's the solution? Not label anything good or bad until you see the whole story. You don't know how the movie ends because it's still playing. Does it make sense? You're just the main actress of your own movie. You're not necessarily the script writer. You might be the producer and the actress, but the script will be written by you as long as you believe in the happy ending. Does it make sense?
Makes sense.
That's what you've been struggling with, right? We had a conversation with you, and you are obviously, this is the normal reaction of your fears. You kept saying it doesn't work. I have to do this. This is going wrong. And every time I'm holding you the mirror and showing you how negative the things that you say sound. But we should be doing the opposite. Forget about all this method now. Just be aware of what you're saying. Hear what comes out of your mouth. It's so important. It's the first step.
You and Jamie also talk about trauma, how to heal trauma as well. And manifestation is helping with that. And I was just thinking, I know I have trauma and that the negative mind is the default mode me. So I was wondering, so I think it's making me harder to really, I do trust in a way, but I think, I don't know if this makes sense, but I was just wondering that because sometimes it's you have to heal the trauma first, and then that makes you more confident, more that you can trust yourself. Because I don't know.
I hear you, but everyone has traumas. As long as we call them traumas and we let them shape our future, then they will be there forever. They're traumas that will take over our lives. It was in the past. It's up to you whether or not and for how long you will catch that trauma and relive it in the present. You can let it go. It happened in the past. There's nothing you can do about it. And you're labeling it as a bad thing. But actually, every trauma makes us become stronger, as the cliche suggests. So the expectation of not having any traumas is not realistic. But Michael Singer has an amazing approach about how to look at things that we call traumas. The world has been around for billions of years. Your life, compared to the life of the universe, is not even a split second. It's just a glimpse. And your experience, physical experience on this world, in terms of the physical space that you take, it's pretty minimal again. Compared to the whole world, it's minimal. Compared to the whole universe, it's negligible. So who are we to decide what's good and what's bad and what's important? We take ourselves so seriously. Everything happens for a reason, and the universe is governed by law. Physics law, things that we don't understand as human beings, are pretty limited. The limits of science is so small. As human beings being on this world for a couple of thousand years, the things that we don't know about is much bigger in scale than the things that we know, right? So who are we to decide as if we know everything? Oh, this is a trauma. It happened to me, so what am I supposed to do now? You're supposed to let go. That's the answer. Because you can keep it as part of your experience or just observe it it like an external observer and say, okay, interesting. Let's see what other experiences I have to live. It's up to you. You have full
Yeah.
control. Do you see that?
Yeah, letting go is easy, but the thing is, sometimes the way how we interact with ourselves, even with other people, it's been a long time. For example, 10 years, 20 years, and it's impossible to reverse that habit, right? Even if you're like an addict, you have to go to rehab and then spend, I don't know, months, years in there. So we can't. Yes, I know that letting go of trauma and that keep working on ourselves, it's a lifelong process, but we can't reverse the way how if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Addiction is something else because chemicals are involved and you might need obviously professional help for that. You might also need professional help for what you call a trauma as well. That's understandable. But I think it's not, the order is in reverse. You don't have to resolve all the trauma first and then pursue your dreams. You can do both at once. Can manipulate your subconscious mind to feel safe at all times, no matter what happens to you. Believing, coming from the end result and believing that everything will turn okay at the end. If you don't have this belief, if you don't have hope, then your life is a loss almost, depending on how severe it is, of course. Some people just accept that they lost and then they become homeless because they lost hope. They think there's no way they can recover this point and they accept defeat. That's a pity. No one should do that, but it happens. That's sad. But I don't think, especially in this modern society, talking about making money or having some kind of emotional support in your life is much easier compared to thousands of years ago. There are all these methods of making money online, right? You can have an extra couple of hours to work on them, or you can get free professional help from people if you believe that you need that. We're not alone on this planet. We have the social support that we need. If we seek for it, we will find it. And I don't believe in losing hope. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, after all, it's all about faith, I think, right?
Yes.
But yes, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I was just thinking, then we keep telling ourselves that we're safe. Isn't that just brainwash ourselves with?
Why not brainwash in a positive way? Because you're doing the opposite all the time.
The thing is, because I'm a very logical person, I analyze and I do things because I know a specific intention. So if I don't know like the intention of it, I would question it until I have an answer, which is it's a little bit unhealthy, but I think yeah, that makes sense.
One of the first things I mentioned in our first call was that you have to believe in this. Otherwise, you can't reason your way out of this. I'm an engineer myself, I'm left brain, but the logic told me this life in Russia is not acceptable. And there are some people who I believe are wiser than me are suggesting to try this. And as a logical person who is an engineer, left brain person who wants to understand things, I said, what's there to lose? What's the worst case? I'm already in Russia, living a small life that I don't want to. So I gave it a try and it worked. And if you see, that's why I mentioned signals. They're going to be small at first. If you give a certain amount of time and effort into staying in the zone, which is basically just feeling positive no matter what happens in your physical life, that's it. Because we're trying to come up with something. It's difficult to grasp what is this guy talking about? So what's the concrete thing that needs to be done? Stop talking negatively. When you catch yourself, when you become aware of something negative coming out of your mind, neutralize it with the exact opposite and believe that everything will turn fine. This is free. This can be done by anyone, and it just takes a lot of awareness in the beginning, and you have to leave away the expectation of understanding everything. Even the most scientific person at least knows that there are limits to science. That's why a scientist needs to be skeptic, right? He needs to question everything, starting from science. Otherwise, it wouldn't be scientific. Everything should be questionable. So scientists don't necessarily contradict with spirituality. At least we believe in the presence of something bigger, whether it's the law of physics, like we're governed by gravity. We were able to understand and make the formula as to how gravity works. And it doesn't make sense to try to defy gravity, but gravity and, let's say, electromagnetic fields, we can understand, but we don't see them. There's Wi-Fi here right now. We're using it. Do you see this? No. Do you have to believe their existence? Because your eyes don't pick up those waves. You don't see them. You can see smoke, but you don't see electromagnetic waves. So are we in a position to question Wi-Fi when we're benefiting from it? It's there, right? You don't have to see it. We were able to understand that. But there are many other things that we don't and we maybe never will. That's why from a logical standpoint, it makes sense to surrender. What is my personal benefit from making you believe in this and changing your life in a positive way? Am I trying to trick you into something that doesn't exist? Am I trying to scam you? No, I'm doing this for free. So again,
Thank you.
basically the most basic logical question to ask yourself, what is there to lose?
Yeah. I guess the main thing I should practice is to, like we discussed before, is to stay in a comfortable feeling. The safe
It's pretty
feeling.
difficult in the beginning. I understand. That's why I gave you my
Yeah.
numbers and said reach out to me on WhatsApp anytime you feel down because it happens to everyone. Until you see some results, it's perfectly understandable to not believe in this or to question or to catch yourself in the negative zone. That's
Mm,
why you need guidance. That's why you need someone who tested it and got results before.
yeah.
That's why I want to make a case study out of this. If we solve your current financial hardship, I want you to visualize. Now we have a couple of dozen people watching us, but it won't always be like that. I started with a couple of dozen people in Turkey as well. Now I have 1 million followers on Instagram. Not that it's a big amount, but it grows. So looking back, imagine this second live stream of ours becomes like an amazing milestone. Looking back, you won't believe these were the things that we discussed when everything changes for you in a couple of months, let's say. So that's what I want you to get excited about because you're going to inspire a lot of people to get out of their hardships, problems, whatever they have.
I'm excited.
Visualization is so important. You can set alarms with your phone at random when the alarm goes off, it's an opportunity to question how you're feeling. Are you in the positive zone or not? Most of the time, you will realize that you're not because you feel limited with your physical reality, which the landlord is there, the bills are there. Who's gonna pay? Someone needs to pay them. The only thing that you need to do is to stay in the zone for a long enough time. And regarding the signs, something, I don't know what, because it's always different, will say, good job, Sean. You're in the right track. Keep doing it. If you haven't seen it yet, I can understand because I caught you saying 7 or 8 negative things back to back during our conversation, which I'm trying to reflect to you. You're still saying
Mm,
negative things. I understand. But at some point, you're going to have to consciously decide to change it, and then things will start changing. You said, I don't see the signs yet. Then in 5 minute conversation, I was able to spot what's happening because resisting. The fearful animal inside you doesn't want you to save yourself, okay? Because it's her job to keep you in the comfort zone. It's not the comfort zone, it's survival. So you need to override it and get the help of your subconscious mind. Until then, you will be driven by fear and you will be unaware of this. But once it happens, then everything will change so quickly and it will feel like luck. It will feel like a miracle, which is not. I will then tell you, you did it on purpose. You were successful in staying in the zone long enough, even though these difficulties still existed and they kept testing you because it's gonna, like, the subconscious mind knows what you're trying to do. It's gonna catch you and say, oh, it's the biggest trickster that we have. I'm trying to keep you within this small zone, fearful, so you won't die. And you're talking about making millions or living comfortably, whatever. It's not a time to test new things, she will say. The fear talking, the fearful voice inside your head. So your job is to fight with it and beat it to death. It will resurrect, and you will kill her again. It will resurrect again. This is the fight until you start seeing small results. When you see something small, then it will be easy for me to convince you to stay in the zone for a longer time. So it's either a vicious cycle or a positive cycle. We will break it to switch to positive. That's all from me right now because, again, we can keep talking about this forever, day and night. Nothing will change as long as you do what I say. Your mind might be still like trying to play a game on again, and maybe when I ask you now what's your mission? What is your homework to do? Do you have a clear answer in your head? If not, I won't judge you because I know your subconscious mind is still playing with you, tricking you. What would your response be? What is your function from now on after we hang up? What should you do?
I would say be aware of every negative voice and mirror it. I'll just reverse it and make sure that I'm in a positive. I don't want to say the word, but again, no, we said we're not going to label everything, right? So it's not negative, just but on a happier, safer, comfortable zone.
Easier
right?
said than done, but it's self-fulfilling prophecy. You have this stupid smile on your face for a long time. You forget because we mentioned this scary movie example. You go to a horror movie to get scared and your body feels it in your nervous system because the subconscious mind doesn't know right from wrong. The movie on the screen, even though we're safe in our environment, is able to scare you. That's a perfect example of how the animal, the limbic brain works. So it's the job of your conscious mind to take over for a short time until your subconscious and your conscious are aligned, because right now they're pulling each other and the subconscious mind is 99% more powerful. You have no chance. You will lose it every time unless you get that power to your side to be aligned with your goals and your wishes, and then you're unbeatable. You can do anything. You just need to break this force and convince her be on your side. That's all, nothing else.
Or beat the demon.
Don't overthink. Try to simplify because you already answered. You know what to do. The rest
Okay.
is execution.
Okay.
Don't read, because when we discussed this with Jamie, it happened to me as well. I want to read more. I want to get more of this information so that I will convince myself, so that I will do something. No, just do it. Doing it changes everything. Then you don't have to understand. You will just enjoy the results. I read everything that needs to be read for you guys. I'm summarizing. I'm giving you the output that you would be getting from reading 10 books, watching dozens of hours of videos. I've done it all. Don't worry. I got you.
Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. At some point when it works for you, you're gonna start spreading the word. This is how it works. Everyone who benefits from this at some point spreads the word, because this is another kind of satisfaction that you get from making this information available. It's public information. It's out there on every library, on every YouTube account that you can search and watch, but you can watch and read forever. Unless you do it for yourself, nothing will change. And I'll see you next week. And this time I want to see some progress, because 1 week of like trial and error is good enough. You don't need more time. Now it's time to succeed. Okay?
Okay. I'll put that into practice. Yes.
Thank you, Shan, and we'll talk next.
Thank you so much, Iki.
Right.
Bye bye.
See you. Bye. And recording now, it's gonna